The vitamin industry is worth $50 billion a year. Most of what it sells, your body flushes out within hours. The industry has known this for decades, and the label on the bottle is legally allowed to say nothing about it. Most people assume vitamins work like a refill. More in, more health out. That is the myth. Vitamins are not fuel. They are support molecules. They help enzymes, tissues, and systems do jobs your body is already designed to do. Think of vitamins as tiny keys. If a key is missing, a system slows down. If the key is already there, adding more keys does not make the machine run faster. Here is how the mechanism actually works. Water-soluble vitamins, vitamin C, and most B vitamins are generally not stored in large amounts. Your body uses what it needs, and the rest is excreted. Taking more does not automatically create more benefit. There is one important exception. Vitamin B12 is water-soluble, but the body can store it in the liver for years. So even the "you just pee it out" line is too simplistic. Fat-soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K, can be stored in the body. That makes them useful over time, but also riskier in excess. And absorption matters more than most people realize. Vitamin D is best absorbed with a meal that includes some fat. Iron absorption changes depending on what you eat it with. So the real system is not capsule in, benefit out. It is dose, form, meal context, baseline status, and whether you were actually low in the first place. And that is where the whole aisle becomes strange. Even when the label is technically true, the product can still underdeliver in real life. If you are actually deficient, supplementation can matter. Low iron, low B12, low vitamin D, those are real problems, and correcting them produces real results. But that is targeted use. The aisle is not built around targeted use. It is built around broad use. That is why the obvious consumer logic fails. With water-soluble vitamins, extra amounts often produce no extra benefit. With fat-soluble vitamins, extra amounts can become the problem. Daily optimization is easy to sell. Useful mainly when there is a real gap, the right dose, and the right context. That is much harder to sell. Once you see that rule book, the aisle stops looking like a wall of answers. It starts looking like a wall of carefully worded possibilities. In the United States, dietary supplements are regulated as a category of food, not as drugs. Under the Dietary Supplement Health and Education Act of 1994, a supplement does not have to go through the same proof of effectiveness standard that a drug does before reaching the shelf. Companies are allowed to make structure-function claims, supports immune health, supports energy metabolism, supports bone strength, as long as they avoid disease claims and include the required disclaimer. This statement has not been evaluated by the FDA, and the product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. That disclaimer is on almost every bottle. Almost no one reads it, and the habit formed long before the rulebook was questioned. Americans have been taking multivitamin products since the early 1940s. Daily supplementation became normal long before most people understood how conditional the benefit often is. Vitamins work best when they solve a real problem. They work much less like universal upgrades. That is why one person takes a supplement and feels a difference, while another buys the same bottle and gets almost nothing. Now you will notice this everywhere. You will notice the word supports. You will notice how rarely the bottle tells you who it clearly helps. You will notice how often the promise sounds bigger than the mechanism. And one final detail makes the whole picture sharper. For preventing cardiovascular disease or cancer in generally healthy adults, official U.S. review bodies have stated that evidence is insufficient for most vitamin and mineral supplements, and specifically recommend against beta-carotene and vitamin E for that purpose. The gap is not just between marketing and biology. It is between what the aisle implies and what the evidence is actually willing to say. If you want more small things with big reasons, subscribe.